We are now. Welcome to our second annual, take two, annual Essence of Mastery Summit. It's a thrill to be back here again with everyone. And once again, we have an illustrious panel of amazing speakers. We've got Tony Latimer sitting on the panelists with us today as we launch this next 8 days or 8 sessions. Okay, so why did we start this and what is this all about? What is Essence of Mastery? So this is a conversation that Fran and I have been having for many, many years.
Right.
And we realized that we didn't have the answers. We began a query of it and we kept asking, you know, what does it mean to be a master certified coach? What does it mean to be a masterful coach? How do we raise the bar? Sorry. But I don't know how to turn that off. It comes through my computer. So hopefully it won't happen again. My apologies, everyone. So we started this query, and when Fran and I began talking, we realized that what we were really hungry for was getting the input of other masterful coaches, other very experienced coaches who've been doing this for a very long time, and realizing that the other piece that's missing is community, being able to get the input from everyone, be in a room, an intimate room with everyone where we can share ideas, learn from each other. And I know we are both super excited to hear what Tony has to say, and Michael and Patrick and Vicky and of course Fran and Bob. We have an amazing lineup of speakers this year.
And actually what you just shared, Annie, is a lot the reason we invited Gail Moore to partner with us as our sponsor, because she is such a champion for masterful coaching and invites masterful coaches, shares them, showcases them. So she's, again, another partner in the mission.
And what I love about what Gail does that I have not actually experienced anywhere else is that she actually offers live coaching demos by MCC coaches for 30 minutes, and then they debrief it for another 30, and then they have sometimes bonus sessions. And so we're incredibly grateful that Gail is up to very similar things that we are, really raising the bar for coaching mastery. So thank you, Gail Moore of More Master Coaching.
Yay. All right. So there's something else I want to share. Annie, I think you already touched on it, really. And it's that we do want to constantly raise the bar. We know you wouldn't be here if you weren't in the same community we are of continuous learners constantly wanting to raise the bar. So here we are. Here we are with that opportunity. Right, Annie? So Annie is calling in from Peterborough, Canada, near Toronto. I'm calling in from Seattle, Washington in the US. And Tony?
1 degree north of the equator.
On the other side of the world.
Singapore. Yeah.
All right. So, and more about me, I'm going to be presenting on the 27th. Tony is tomorrow, and at the end of our programming today, we'll give him a moment to say a little bit about his topic. Okay, so Annie, let's orient everyone to how it's going to be today, okay?
Well, just a quick question. I'm noticing that Mark wants to be promoted to a panelist. I'm guessing he has a question, but there he is. So Mark, you are now promoted as a panelist. Can we help you out? There you are. You just have to unmute. There you go. Go ahead. Oh.
Did you have a hi, Mark?
No, I'm here. Yeah, no, I couldn't be heard before, so I'm good.
Well, you're actually not going to be heard unless you ask to have, if you have a question. Okay. So Monique and Fran will be monitoring the chat and the Q&A, everyone today. If you would like to interact with us, just ask and we'll promote you to a panelist in just the same way that we just did. So we're going to say goodbye to you for now, Mark.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Whoops. Hang on. Sorry, I'm trying to get him off the video. Ah, there you go. Okay. There we go. Always a few tech things, always makes it fun. All right, so everyone, we would like your undivided attention. What does that mean? Phones off, step away from your second computer, wherever you're doing that's distracting you. Please really be present. We'd very much like for you to be with us. Also, like we said, if you have questions, if you have something that you have a comment on, you know, we've got an ongoing chat going on. Yes, it's still snowing, Sam. We've had so much snow here. I can't believe it's April 17th. And ice storms. It's been fun. Anyway, as you can see, there's an ongoing chat. Fran's going to be monitoring it. Monique is going to be monitoring it. If you want to interact with us, just ask, and it's just as easy as pie. Anything else, Fran, before we get started?
So the flow of the next hour and a half is that we're going to introduce our presenter. We'll have the presentation. And when we get to the wrap up, we're going to announce the next speaker, which is Tony. And then we're going to turn off the recording. So if you're live with us, please stay on after we turn off the recording for that second password.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I think it's good to get started. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Okay. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker and my partner here with this event, Annie Gelfand. And her topic today is, what's love got to do with it? Self-managing judgment.
And actually, let me just interrupt for a moment. You'll notice that I actually changed the name of my presentation. And the reason for that, just really quickly, is because the original title was The Subtle Art of Judgment Slaying. And it felt harsh. It felt harsh. The word judgment slaying just felt too hard. So when I really sat down with it, I realized what we're really talking about is, if we're subtle, it really is self-management, and self-management around judgment. So there you go.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Annie is a master certified coach and an MBA, certified professional coactive coach, and founder of her company, Radical Wisdom. And I love that, Radical Wisdom. She has been coaching individuals, teams, and relationships to make radical change since 1997. And has been in business over 30 years. And I am thrilled to be the first to share. Most recently, Annie has been invited to be an ICF MCC assessor. Congratulations, Annie! You've worked hard to get here. And so this is quite a milestone for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
A little bit more. You left a successful corporate career and gave away everything you owned to study with a meditation master in the Himalayan mountains in India for 7 years. So that had an impact. Working with Annie requires you to be devoted to making change happen. And she has the gift, and I'm a personal experience of this, getting to the heart of the matter at the speed of light. Annie excels at mentoring new and experienced coaches aspiring to mastery. And that's why we're here. So writer, speaker, artist, she's also trained in organization, relationship, and systems coaching, and certified in numerous holistic modalities, which we'd probably love to hear more about, Annie. Now, on a personal note, before I turn it over to you, I just want to share with everyone here that not only does Annie have heart and passion for masterful coaching, she is my inspiration. She raises the standard for what it is to be in collaborative partnership. And I look forward, Annie, to many more years of what we can create together. So, Annie, Take it away.
Wow, thank you. That was a surprise. All right, everyone. So here we go. Essence of Mastery Summit kickoff session. That's not supposed to happen again. I'm popular today. Okay, so what's love got to do with it? Self-managing judgment. So I love this quote. One of my favorite authors is Pema Chodron. Compassion practice is daring. It involves learning to relax and allowing ourselves to move gently towards what scares us. The trick to doing this is to stay with emotional distress without tightening into aversion, to let fear soften us rather than harden into resistance. And the reason I love this quote is because when we are talking about coaching, we are talking about, and when I talk about coaching, I'm really talking about transformational coaching, which is all about sustainable change. How many of us have gotten off a call with a client and we think that our clients, really made a choice to make some change, some big change. And it's like, yes, I'm going to do it. I've got my strategy lined up. I'm being this energy and I'm devoted to doing it. I'm committed to doing it. And they come back to the next call and something didn't take, something didn't actually change. So what we're looking for is that which is changing. That's why clients come to coaching, and they come when they get the awareness of what it is that's driving this blind spot. When they get insight, we're basically spreading seeds, and we're watering seeds, and they'll take when they take, and it is not up to us. It's up to them, to what they do with it and when they do something with it. But it's always about awareness, because we cannot change what we are not aware of. So in the query of what is coaching mastery, and I don't pretend that this is the be-all and end-all answer, by the way, this is just, a momentary glimpse into what is part of this. And I welcome everyone's participation into, adding to this definition as it evolves and continues. It is not by any means a destination. It is an ongoing moving target, and it is something that I constantly aspire to, and that's why we created the Essence of Mastery Summit. I forgot what we called it. Okay. So here's the thing. What is coaching mastery? It really is where clients really learn to trust themselves and their own inner wisdom, their capacities and their greatness, and how these all relate to who they're becoming. Because they come because there's something within them that they would like to change. There's something driving that they're hungry for. And so when they get to a place where they truly trust themselves, then that's all they need. They don't need extra input. They don't need us. They don't need anyone. The idea being is that they ultimately can just, be self-coaching in a way. And the interesting piece is that, if you've been a coach for a very long time, I think many of us do end up self-coaching, but there are occasions, even after, 22 years, that I will turn to my trusted colleague, Fran, many times and say, Fran, I've got a blind spot here. I need your help. So what is that? It is a partnership. We talk a lot in ICF terms about partnership. So we'll be talking a little bit more about what partnership is today and what that looks like. But really it is based on trust, that the coach is trusting the client to know what they need and to know that they know. And again, the big difference with MCC coaching versus in PCC is the degree of depth that we dig down for awareness for our clients.
And Annie, let's share with the attendees that you're going to bring on a client and have a demo coaching session during the presentation today. So
Thank you. We forgot to talk about that.
Yeah, that's a coming attraction here.
Yeah, I think as coaches that Mentoring coaches and listening to recordings, I find that, and I can do the same, we get complacent in our skill set. We start telling instead of asking, and we start having what I call voting, which is what this is all about. Why I'm bringing up the whole topic of judgment is that it is a very insidious energy that gets inserted in between us and the client. So I call voting anything. Now, voting can be internally to the client and as well as projected from a coach, but is anywhere where the client and or the coach is feeling right or wrong, good or bad about anything. That is judgment. So judging our clients' choices and what they're doing and what they're not doing, and we think we know what they should be choosing, that's the insidious energy that can get inserted. And that actually really seriously impedes the trust and intimacy that can be the springboard of diving deep into a client, truly identifying what's in their way. Yes, Fran.
And I'd love for you to check with Tony here and see what comment he'd like to make, possibly.
Sure. Tony, would you like to add something here?
Yeah, just listening and resonating with that, because judgments is stuff we talk about a lot. And I think one of the interesting things is to learning to recognize them. And one of the things I've noticed helps with that is realizing that they're happening all the time and you can't prevent them.
Right.
What I think goes on is we're making observations all the time. We're getting signals in through all the senses, and we go from an observation to an interpretation so fast we don't even recognize that it's happened.
Yeah.
And those interpretations then solidify into the judgments.
So that's a great comment, and thanks for adding that, which is why I brought us to the next slide, which is what is powerful coaching. Because when we get into, and you're so correct, it's like a thought. If you've been a meditator, I always say, because I have been meditating since I'm 16, and I always say, if you're having a thought, that's a good thing. It means you're alive. You can't expect the mind to stop thinking. The mind's going to think. That's a sign that your brain is active. We're good. We're good with that. And the same is good. The same is true with judgment, because judgment's going to pass through you. It's not going to stop. You cannot stop it. But what we can do is become an observer of it. And in the observing of it, that's where we get a choice to change it. So the thing here is that most of us have not been trained in learning how to observe, to step back, because you cannot be an observer and judging at the same time. In the very act, what's going on, Fran? You're laughing, and I don't know why. Oh, I don't hear you. You're muted.
No, that's such a great point. We can't be observing and judging at the same time. I was like, yeah, right on.
Well, and that's the magic key right there. As soon as and so I'm going to get into a few tools into how to recognize when we're judging in just a minute or two. But that recognition that we all judge, it's not something that we're being good or bad about in ourselves either. It's just, that's what we're made. We're like judgment on two sticks. That's what we do. We walk around judging everyone and ourselves, and it's all over the place. But what is it really like to be in a conversation where you're really not judged? And that is such a powerful and life-changing conversation. And that's what I want to offer us today. I want to offer everyone a possibility that there is a way to be in this space. So one of the ways is to be completely detached from any outcome. We talk about this all the time. We're not supposed to be attached to being right when we share an intuition with our clients. And yet, how good are we at really, really detaching? So what does it take to be that detached? And that is the trust. Trusting your client to know that they know themselves better than you do. That is probably, if I had to encapsulate my life's journey, my lesson is, I know whether I like broccoli and peas. I know whether I like peaches. I know when I need to go to the bathroom. No one else can tell me these things. I know. And the radical wisdom brand that I've been building has been all about empowering people to know that they know what is best for themselves. You know, if you go try on an outfit at a store with your best friend and you're in front of the mirror and you're looking at this suit that you're trying on and you go, man, I look amazing in that. And you come out and you show your friend, and your friend Annie said, you know, what are you thinking? That looks horrible. That color's all wrong. It doesn't fit. And you felt like $1,000,000 and you don't buy the suit. That's what I'm talking about. Listen to yourself, because you really know. It makes me feel good. I don't need someone to validate whether it's good or not. And maybe you don't listen to them, and maybe them telling you that it doesn't look good on you is a way to know that you really like this suit, and you weren't sure until they told you that they didn't like it. So you really,
Therese makes a really cool distinction. She says, the distinction between judging and judgmentalism. So judging is happening all the time, like Tony indicated. Judgmentalism is the good, bad, right, wrong, labels, bias.
yeah, lovely. Thank you for that. I like that distinction. So we really have to get out of their way. That is the bottom line, getting out of their way. And so how do we do that? And this is where being with the client in a number of ways is where your client really feels seen, heard, respected, and I use the word loved. Now that word has a lot of meanings for a lot of different people. When I use the word loved, I am talking about an unconditional regard, a way to, you know, I think I call it the way of Dalai Lama, being with whoever, not only with clients, but in life in general. You know, every single person feels that they're right. And we're all walking around, or many of us walking around feeling wrong. So when they come into a coaching conversation, especially feeling very vulnerable, the last person they want to have judge them is you. So we really have to find the ways, that subtlety of judgmentalism, and thank you for that. I love that. I'm going to start using that. Sneaks in. This quote from Marshall Rosenberg I love, because it's, you know, certain ways of communicating does alienate us from that natural state of compassion. And it is compassion that we, you know, find ourselves in a meta skill of, and it can trap us into that rightness and wrongness. And that is where, you know, that is not where our clients will get the sustainable change that they really are looking for. So here is what you've been waiting for, the 3 keys to judgment-free coaching. You know, these aren't new terms. Deep listening, we all know what it is to be active listening. That's a core competency. I have a little bit extra to add to it that you might not have known about, or maybe you already know and you're doing this. Deep trust. Again, deep is the word here, because that is the difference between PCC and MCC, is the degree of depth. And then deep caring, which is not a term that is in ICF core competencies. So what is deep listening? This is where we're not just listening with our ears. We're not listening to just what they say. We're listening to everything. We're listening to the nuances of the energy of their tone. If we're on Zoom with them, or Skype, or if we're face-to-face, knee-to-knee, we're looking for the changes in their body positions and the expressions on their faces. We're looking for every subtlety. We step over nothing. Everything is information for us. And again, you know, you could find yourself judging, and you know, it's this and it's that, and it's good and it's bad. And again, it's just like meditation. You watch it, you're aware of it, and you let it go, because it doesn't matter what we think. What matters is what your client thinks. And that's the difference. So what is deep listening? It really is an energetic listening, and it is all about the client. Were there any questions, by the way, at this juncture? Oh, Fran, you're muted. You're still muted. There you go. Yeah.
No questions yet. I'll let you know when we
Just
have a
get my attention if there's any comments.
Tony. Tony has something to
Yeah, I was raising an eyebrow there. Just wanted to point out, I think on the chat, some people are sending some interesting chats and comments, but it says they're going to all panelists as opposed to all panelists and attendees, which means there's 50
Oh,
people out there who are not getting the comments. So those of you who are putting comments, you're putting some awesome stuff. You can just make sure that you've selected the option that says all panelists and attendees, and then everybody can play. Yeah.
oh, thank you, Tony. Thanks for noticing.
Welcome.
Bravo, Tony. Thank you for
Great
that.
noticing. Paying attention.
Okay, so let's talk about deep trust, because deep trust is really that piece of the client knowing themselves so much better than we think that they may, even then they may think they know themselves. So we're actually holding a space for them to know themselves even better than they may think. And certainly they know themselves. They know what they need. They know what they're ready for. They know when they're ready for it. And deep caring, which is not an ICF core competency, but this is the big piece of the non-judgmental coaching. And this is where we do have an unconditional regard and respect for our client's process and self-knowledge. The piece that gets in the way in every mentoring session that I have been in, that I have had the pleasure and honor of being a mentor coach, is where the coach wants more for the client than they want for themselves. And I know that we do that with the best of intentions. We do it because we really do care. And we see what they, we all have such amazing gifts and skills and talents, and we see what they can be. But where we start telling them or thinking that we're knowing for them something that they're not ready for is actually the opposite of deep caring. And that really gets in the way of creating trust and intimacy and direct communication and awareness and sustainable change for our clients. Yeah.
So we have some questions showing up in the chat box. So I don't think we've been clear enough that if you have an actual question of the presenter, please put it in the Q&A box. So for now, let me share them with you, Annie.
Sure.
We have one from Robin that says, the ICF says active listening, but when we teach, we use deep listening. Do you have an opinion on this?
Well, I'm not sure when you say we teach, because I'm not sure what you mean by that. So what do you actually, and I'm just wondering at this juncture, I'm just wanting to check in on time with you, Fran, because we did want to do, I wanted to offer a 30-minute coaching demo with my client who's on the call with us today, on the conference call. And if we're going to get done on time, I wonder if we should save some of these questions for afterwards. What do you think?
Well, I agree. Also, stay tuned because Tony's going to be able to address that one, Robin, tomorrow. And
yeah, that was the comment I put in, Fran, to that one, to say sales pitch for you come back tomorrow night. For sure. Any of those deeper questions about deeper listening, yeah, we'll play with that one tomorrow for sure.
Okay, good. All right, so good. So we'll capture the questions here in the Q&A. Thank you. And we'll address them at the end of the program. If they're not fully addressed, we'll get with you offline.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me just hang on before we jump to that. There are still a couple of other slides that I think are important. I just want to cover, and then we'll move into the coaching demo. Lisa, we should get you promoted to panelists. So Fran or Monique, if you could do that, let's get her at least ready. If you can do that, would be great. Okay. So every sticky situation is an opportunity for coaching. And my goodness, if a sticky situation has not shown up in your coaching conversations, I wonder how deep your coaching's going, because the sticky situations are brilliant opportunities to create trust and intimacy. You find in any relationship, actually, when you can navigate yourself through together as a relationship through difficult conversations, when things, you know, sometimes coaches project onto clients even, you know, we do that without realizing it. And our willingness to own it, to be vulnerable, creates trust, and to explore that and to be transparent about it. And of course, clients can project onto us as well. And in stepping back into being an observer and saying, okay, let's just step out of the fire for a moment and let's just look together, partnered, side by side, and let's look together, put the problem out in front and go, what's going on here? What are the dynamics? Let's just really explore what this is about. It's a brilliant opportunity for creating more trust and intimacy. And the piece that is probably different than what you might have heard before, I call it the being love container. And I think of that as a meta skill. It's what we stand in the unconditional love and regard and respect for our client that creates the sense of safety that allows them to explore their shadow sides, that allows them to look at habits and patterns that previously they've looked at, you know, so integrated as a part of them that it's hard for them to separate out, that eventually they get to be a choice with. And it's that being a choice that allows them to say, you know what, this doesn't work for me, or this does work for me. We have to be able to see our clients as whole, complete, and empowered, and especially the expert of everything that is about them. So here's what I'm going to ask you all to be looking for when I get into this coaching session with my client momentarily. Being intentional and intensely present. So this is the, you know, the precursor to active listening, to you know, creating awareness, to all of them is really, you know, coaching presence. This is what this means. Listening from the heart is all of that energetic listening that we were talking about earlier. And I have a term I use with all my clients and mentees, which is slow time down. Take a moment and just stretch it out so that we can be the objective observer, allowing us to have access to notice habits and patterns and ways of being that were not obvious before. And to notice all of these skills allow us to notice when we are voting and when our clients are voting. And of course, being transparent is the thing that gives permission, fuel for clients to be, you know, take chances, to be taking risks, to truly choose something different, or to explore what's stopping them from doing that.
And the space of intimacy that opens up the trust.
Yeah, exactly. That intimacy and that being love container, which I'm not sure if you have questions about that, I'm happy to talk about it. It may be new for you, or maybe you're already doing it for many years. And of course, the other piece that's really important here is our clients' willingness to change. I call it low-hanging fruit, because they come and they are willing to do whatever it takes to get that change. They're willing to look at their most challenging places and darkest shadows, and they are, you know, committed to that change. And that is one of the reasons why I have chosen Lisa to participate today with our coaching demo. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Fran and Tony to go off video. Just close your cameras so that you're not present. And Lisa, let's get you unmuted. And I'm going to go in a gallery view. And now we see all of us, but that's okay. Actually, I'm going to go to speaker view. Yeah. Okay, so welcome, Lisa. You are my client today. I am thrilled, beyond thrilled, that you're here with us today. And I know it's not easy to be a client in public, especially if you're bringing a vulnerable topic. So thank you so much for your willingness to do that. You can speak. Okay. I can't hear you that well. Can you try again?
Sure. Is that better?
Yes, that's much better. There you are. Okay. And when you're speaking, I'm going to actually pin the video on you. So we can.
I'll be up close. I didn't quite realize this part, so I'm getting myself together.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you need for that to get yourself together?
Just a moment of breathing.
Yeah. I do too, actually. My heart's kind of racing. Like, it's always a little intimidating, I find, to do a coaching demo in public. And I'm kind of doing this because I want us all, you know, I'd love to see every single MCC coach doing this. There's just such a lack of recordings demonstrating MCC coaching. And by the way, I do not promise to do MCC coaching today. I will do my absolute best. You've got my promise for that. And, you know, one of the risks that I'm taking today is I might fall flat on my face in front of everyone, and I'm willing to do that because I'm always interested in learning more. So I've asked, you know, Fran, Tony, and all of you actually to come back with feedback, and, you know, let's look as a community at what, you know, let's raise the bar for masterful coaching. And I'm hoping today to demonstrate some of these things that I talked about today. I've got something in my tooth that's bothering me, so let me just get that out of the way. There we go. Okay. So how you doing now, Lisa?
I'm good. Got my, I'm good.
So let's just organize time. Fran, just for a moment, what is our timing on this? Shall we, I just don't want to cut, I think we're going to cut in, let's do 25 minutes of coaching instead of 30.
Okay.
We'll take, I guess we need to leave at 5 minutes at the end, right?
Right.
I'll leave you to be the timing mechanism on all of this. So you decide if we have 30 minutes, we will have. Just give me that 10-minute,
Okay.
that 10-minute ding. So then I'll know.
All right. Will do.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So Lisa, dear, it is just you and me. There is no one else here. You're the only one that matters. And everyone else has just disappeared into being your cheerleader and just wanting the best for you. Okay. Cool. All right. So what is your topic for this session?
My topic has to do with being present in my relationship, and at some level all, but for today's purpose, I'm going to talk about my primary relationship, which is budding. So it's a fairly new relationship with someone that I was involved with when I was in my 20s. As you know, I was throwing around 3 topics that I might, and the reason I picked this one is because I feel like I'm 60 years old. I shouldn't, damn it, be struggling with how to figure out a relationship at this age. And so I figured that it had to do with love, had to do with being present, and had to do with judgment of myself.
Very timely conversation.
So the deal is that I've been single for a long time after a divorce, and I find my past relationships that had trust issues, betrayals, kind of creeping into this one, not with the person, but with me, that I go fear bound on it. And unless I know all of the information, my mind goes to history recreating itself. And I don't want to be that person. It isn't what I know to be true when I sit in the relationship. It isn't what I know. But I'm so guarded that I'd like to talk about that. I think the way that I position it with myself is finding that sweet spot between being totally present and yet being myself in the relationship. I find that I get so concerned that I withhold, or I go passive aggressive, or I do this crazy stuff.
Wow, I just want to tell you, I'm seriously and sincerely honored that you're willing to be that vulnerable in this conversation. And I, you know, there was a lot of emotion, and this is an important, important topic to you. Yeah. Wow. Well, you're such a courageous, this is what I love about you. You are one of the most courageous women I know. That's why I really wanted you to be here with us today. Because I know you're going to get change, because you demand that of yourself.
Yes, I do.
So Lisa, with the 30 minutes or less that we've got together, I know there's so much emotion here for you. What is the actual outcome that you'd like from what we're talking about?
I'd like to, a couple things. One is I want to recognize for myself the difference between having boundaries or having what I want in the relationship, and when I'm trying to force something because I'm trying to protect myself.
So it almost sounds like, when do you trust?
Yes, myself. And one of the, I want very much to share my life with someone, with this particular man. In the past, I have given myself away in relationships, and I want to find that place where I'm truly sharing, but not giving myself away or not being myself in it.
Honestly, I don't know a single woman who could not relate to that topic today. I know I've done it many times in the past. So for today, what is the end goal? Like, what are you actually hoping to happen?
I'm hoping to be able to trust myself, to know whether I'm acting out of fear or whether I'm holding something that's valuable to me and holding the line there.
Right. So again, it comes back to that trust. Is this so important to me that I'm unwilling to give that up? And this is nothing to do with fear. This is everything to do with the honoring of myself, respecting myself, versus am I acting from some past trigger, emotional handicap, something like that? Is that the essence of it?
That is the essence of it. And part of that is forgiving myself for in those times, similar to what you said earlier about judgment and noticing it, or maybe it was Tony, that I can't necessarily avoid that my fears will come in, but I don't want to act from them.
Right. Got it. Wow. That is a transformative topic. How clear are you on knowing when you'll have that? What are we looking for?
I have a sense. How clear am I that no, I have a sense that I'll know it when I'm in it, because I have a sense that my body will feel very different when I'm coming from holding the space for myself versus being fear driven.
Right. The body's a really important messenger for you. What is your measurement of that right this second?
4, 5.
And what does that number stand for?
It stands for that I recognize kind of when I'm doing it, but I'm not always still not acting on it. And that's what I want to do is I'm not trying to not have the fear show up. I'm trying to see it and make a different choice.
Right. Got it. So the 4 is that more about your action?
Yes.
And your awareness of it?
Yes.
Sounds
It's
like
like I would like to have my awareness change the next thing that happens.
Got it. There's always that little lag effect between your awareness and the acting on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Where do you want to get to by the end of today or our session?
I would like to go all the way to, is it 10 or is it
20. Yeah. You're totally committed to this. This is what you will have, and you will get there.
because this relationship matters to me.
Yeah. You really know yourself better than anyone else, Lisa. You know, and that is something, again, that is outstanding about you. What's the piece that's in the way of you acting on your awareness?
It's being wrong. I feel like sorry. I feel like I missed in the past. I've missed some cues or something. I've been caught off guard. Not always, but many times. And so there's a part about not trusting myself.
Please don't apologize. That is one of the greatest requests you can make of yourself, is to trust yourself.
Yeah. I think there's a big part of this that has to do with letting go of control. Because I feel like I need to know all the answers in order to be safe. And it gets a lot out of hand, I will say. And I think if I could trust that whatever happens, I will be fine. That doesn't mean that I won't hurt or that I won't something, but I know that there's really nothing that can happen to me that I won't be able to get through. I know that.
How deep in your body is that knowing?
It's deep. It's just the not wanting to have the discomfort part is much shallower.
So that,
and I don't want to again, this relationship is important to me. I feel in my bones that this is it. And I'm so in many ways I'm not worried about that. I trust that. It's me screwing it up that I don't trust.
that's a heavy burden you're carrying, as if it's all on your shoulders to not screw up.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about forgiving yourself and letting go of control. What's going on for you that, what's going on there?
So I just have to say that I'm smiling because I know you caught yourself.
Yes, I did. Usually, guys, I own up. I usually say, okay, not that question. Let me try another one. But thank you. Lisa and I have been coaching together for a while now.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I love that you brought in lightness and laughter, because that is so who I know you to be.
Yeah.
You are such a joy.
So ask me the question again.
Yeah. So a little earlier, the essence of what it seems to be going on for you is that the past is taken over for you and interfering with your ability to be really trusting of yourself, and this really important relationship that you're in and that is so meaningful to you. And you mentioned forgiving yourself and letting go of control as the things that would change it for you. What's going to get you to that place of forgiving and letting go?
The thing that's going to is allowing time is the thing that is going to let it happen for me. And the thing that's going to change is when I put some space between the thought of my fear or my fear raising itself and me doing something with that. And also,
that's our 10-minute mark.
Okay. Also, just letting things unfold is the thing that is absolutely sure is that when I just look at our relationship and where it is, there is no data, there is no experience that doesn't have me absolutely trusting it. I don't have all the answers. It's a budding, it's still a new relationship, so it's still unfolding, but I feel like I go way out to, like, what does it look like down here? What does it look like down here? And it gets me all crazy. I have this need for information that is crazy. And, I have to say that so far he's been willing to ride with me.
Yeah.
And so part of what I've been doing is really not, I hope, not burdening him with my fears, but letting him know this, I need to know this. I'm getting squirrely, and this is what my squirreliness is about, and this is how I fix it.
So the squirreliness, is that the when you're honoring and trusting yourself, or the fear?
No, actually it isn't. Good. It isn't. It's when I'm honoring my fear. Honestly, I didn't think of it that then, but that's really kind of a cool thing. Is I didn't think about that. I thought that, see, this is that sweet spot between holding my boundaries and doing my fear, is when I say, this is what's going on for me. I'm squirrely and you have to give me the answer so that I can get unsquirrely. That is absolutely me honoring my fears.
That sounds like you just had a giant aha.
I did, because I thought that I told myself that that was me holding the boundaries, but really it isn't. It's me saying I have this fear, and I'm not that quite clear about it in the thing, but I see myself, when I do that, I see myself as being sort of passive aggressive and kind of throwing something out in a way that I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that here. I don't want to be it anywhere, but I don't want to be it here.
You ranked yourself at was it a 4?
Yes.
On trusting yourself, right? Or acting on your trust of yourself. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let me just check in with you. Are we in the right direction?
Yes, that was a huge. I love that. It's so, what that tells me, when I recognize that my throwing out something that allows me to feel like I'm more control is about honoring my fear instead of trusting the relationship.
Will you repeat that, please?
When I throw out something that requires that he respond to my fear, I told myself that that was about me having boundaries and requirements for what I do want in a relationship. But really, it was about my fears. And when I can stop doing that, and I'm going to use some of your words, is slow time down and just be in it, that's when I'm trusting the relationship and trusting myself and trusting what I said earlier about, I know that whatever happens, it'll be fine.
Yeah. That was something just shifted.
Uh-huh.
What are you aware of? What are you learning about yourself?
This pace, this calmness that I have right now is what's required of me in the relationship. That's where I stop, because there is a whole spinning that happens, and it happens fast when I'm fear. And if I could just recognize that, then all this stuff happened on my screen. It was like
I know, Tony just
when I can recognize that's my cue. That's, I talked about, I've missed cues. I need to shift. Here's my other little, I'm just having this right now. Shift looking for cues from myself instead of looking at it from him, because that's a mistrust as well.
Wow. Okay, so one more time, because those were 2 big ahas you had.
So the first one is really recognizing the pace, and that when I'm frenetic in my thinking, that is a fear thing, and to slow down. The second one is, I forgot it, but it has to do with me looking for, I didn't forget. The cues are in myself, and noticing how I am in my body that's the cues. I've been saying that I need to watch cues, and when I'm watching for cues from other people, it already suggests a suspicion and a judgment because it's, I'm looking for them. But if I can just sink into noticing what my body is telling me,
Wow,
that would make a huge difference.
so shifting from what is the other responding to how am I feeling in my body, and those are your red flags.
Yes. Yeah.
Where would you say you are now on a scale of 1 to 10 in your ability to act on your awareness?
I think I'm pretty good. It requires that I take a moment to notice that and to choose. so that slowing down part, I'm like Rip Roaring. When something comes in my head, I'm just on it, like, white on rice.
Yeah.
So, or a dog on a bone, as you say.
Well, and I also know that, when you become aware of something, your ability to shift it is very fast, because all you need is to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things, loose ends, I just want to make sure we haven't left anything out. Because you did mention about letting go of control and forgiving yourself. Where are those right now?
Well, the letting go of control will happen now. It will happen as part of this if I can just, trust the cues from myself and not go looking out there. That'll let go. And also the slowing down, because it's when I'm responding to my fear that the control comes in. I feel like I have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
And the trust, that forgiving myself, is I just have to hold the thought that my fears are going to show up.
Yeah, like thoughts, same thing. They will come, they will go, but it's what you give energy to.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you need to put into play for yourself to remember this going off this call today?
Well, my touchstone.
Grace.
My tattoo, Grace. Grateful, respectful, accepting, courageous, and engaged.
Beautiful.
In this. Yeah. So.
You sound thoroughly committed.
Yep.
To honoring yourself, acting on your awareness, being kind to yourself. This is a huge, huge step you're taking, Lisa.
And so worth it.
And so worth it. You are delightful. I always love coaching you. You are just brilliant. Thank you so much for being willing to be my client in front of everyone today. They just disappeared, didn't they? I love that about you. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, we're done. Thank you again. Before we move, like what I'd like to do now, actually didn't tell you this, Lisa. Surprise! No. Yeah. No, what I'd like to find out from you is to just give some feedback on what that was like for you. What worked well, what didn't work well, what would have worked better, whatever you think would be important for us to know. And how you saw the judgment that we talked about earlier come into play. Or managing, I should say. Yeah.
You were great in that. And of course, I've been working with you long enough that I know that to be true of you, that I feel that there is always a judgment free. But let me tell you what strikes me in terms of my looking at it from my own coaching is, while I think that I'm judgment free or I'm trying to be, I know that that's not so in my head, and I certainly know that my face shows it. And so I was really struck that you really stayed very neutral in all of your things. You certainly validated so you gave me support in terms of not being judgmental with myself, and I felt very held by you.
Anything else?
That's it for now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so I will go back to.
What are you feeling good about, Annie, that you feel you demonstrated well?
Well, it goes to show me again how much our caring of our clients matters. I really love Lisa. Like, I really, really, really care about her. And I think that, I'm not a parent, but I can imagine being a parent, how, loving your kids and wanting the best for them can interfere in helping them develop themselves and finding their footing and finding what works for them and making errors and falling flat on their. That's got to be one of the most challenging places for a parent, because they're really invested. Of course, I'm not invested in Lisa, other than Lisa's success. Lisa's success is my success. And so I think that one of my strengths is holding that container. It's one of why I created this topic, is being able to be truly in a space of non-judgment, of being, whatever she chooses is fine. There is no good or bad or right or wrong of any of it. And I feel good about how I held that for her. I think that I did a good job of pacing, of giving a lot of space for her to process and self-discover, which is really all that coaching's about. I always think of coaching questions, powerful questions, as, a lob of a tennis serve. If anybody plays tennis out there, you give a good strong serve and you put a spin on it, and then it's the other one to receive it. And our job is done. We've given a spin, and now it's up to the client to be in the receiving of the question, to dig deep with it, to see what it offers them, to, it's, when we're really holding that space of non-judgment, it's this yummy, yummy, adventurous, in-depth investigation of self that goes on, that allows them to walk away with more awareness of themselves, more self-trust. So, yeah. I'd be happy to hear other comments.
Oh, that's great. Well, Tony dropped off and he's just back. So welcome back, Tony. little technical issue there. Sorry
about that. Just going from one device to another as the computers fail in sequence. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, Tony, while you're collecting your thoughts, there are some remarks on the Q&A. Vicki says, lovely demonstration of trust, intimacy, and rapport. Jeannie says, Annie, could you please post your PIMA quote again at the end of your presentation today? And
that for a sec. Everybody who would like to get a copy of my slide deck, which actually has that quote within it and some beautiful artistry created by an amazing designer who I can tell you about later if you're interested. You can get that just by emailing me and I'll send you the slide deck.
Okay, and here's a question. So if Lisa's success is Annie's success, as she said, wouldn't that mean a certain kind of attachment that may not be helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me think about that. Yeah, you're right. It would be. So I actually changed my answer there. I think what I really want to say is her awareness. So let me come back to something I said earlier, which is that, I go for low-hanging fruit. I know that's a funny term, but what that means is I choose clients who are ready to make change. Those are the clients that I coach. And it is not fun for me, and I don't know about you guys, but it is not fun for me to choose someone, to coach someone who's not choosing change. So that is the container. They're choosing change, they're having it, they're willing to do whatever it takes to investigate it. So now let's look at what success means. Success is all about self-awareness, in my opinion. So then in a sense, I am actually invested in their success is mine, because as long as they're getting some awareness, then we have been successful. So maybe that's the disconnect, is what is your definition of success? That we didn't identify, right?
Well, also, I think it deserves to point out that this is about partnership. So you're equally committed in partnership with your client to achieve her objective. And I did hear someone recently say, as a coach, I find myself with some clients more invested in their success than they do for themselves. That shifts it into agenda zone. But in partnership, what I witnessed here today is partnership right alongside Lisa. You were with her to support her in getting where she wanted to go.
So what are some of the things that you witnessed that demonstrated that partnership, Fran?
Well, it was partnership, the spirit of partnership with her. And I was watching for the ways that you suggested we can release judgment. And here are some that I saw. One was right out of the chute, the intentional and intensely present was demonstrated with the breathing, getting fully present in the moment and breathing together, getting aligned and connected. And then that observation you made, kind of with a question mark, you demonstrated how you get to the heart of the matter when you said, so is it about when do you trust? You took that whole expression of Lisa's and you offered the idea of trust as the essence of what you heard without attachment. You got to the heart of the matter. You slowed time down by inviting her to repeat for herself so she could anchor in her body what she said, what she wanted. And in the space that you gave her, slowed time down, and you measured your speaking. You didn't rush through. You measured your speaking, so you demonstrated slowing time down in the way that you were being. And being transparent when you acknowledged that your heart was racing. You were, being transparent. Now, noticing when you were voting, that's internal for you. You're going to have to tell us when were times that you may have noticed. Lisa caught you in one of those where you regrouped.
Well, that was actually because, and she knows this, because usually what happens when I ask a question and then I go, you know what, not that question, this question. So she heard me ask a question and then I changed the question. And normally what I would have said is, I would have accompanied with, I'm changing my question, and this time I just did it. So she kind of supplied what I normally would have said. I think that was that piece there that she was referring to. And is it something else, Lisa?
No, I just, I wanted to say, and this ties to something Fran said, is that I felt you were so present that I felt like there was never a time that you were formulating a question for me while I was in it, so that I felt like you stayed with me the whole time. Where I know when I'm meeting with clients that I'm sometimes ahead, so I'm on top of them, stepping on them, ready for the next thing when they're still in what they're in.
Well, that's a great noticing. And that is actually really being present. One of the things that I've discovered about being present is you can't be thinking and be present at the same time. As soon as you're thinking, you are in the future or in the past, you are not present. And, I've been working on this for such a long time, most of my life. And for me, the big step of being a PCC to MCC was that. Get out of the head and really, really present with the client. And if you think you know something, you don't. What is it, Fran?
Tony's smiling.
Yeah. We are going to have so much fun linking into tomorrow night on this. This is going to be awesome.
Yay. I'm so excited for everyone's talk. Looking forward to tomorrow.
So before tomorrow, any comments or feedback, Tony, on the demo coaching?
So I think a couple of things. I'd like to sort of throw some questions for the participants to think about and maybe comment on. Remind me to ask them the question tomorrow. I'd like people to share their thoughts tomorrow on what were the things that they heard in that session that they might, as the coach, have picked up on? Whether or not Annie picked up on that or not. So key words that jumped out that said, I want to pick up on that. Also be interested in people's views on what were they hearing that wasn't words?
Mm-hmm.
What were they picking up?
Yes.
What was screaming out at you? I mean, I'm an IT guy, right? So that intuition word, the I word, I can't relate to that at all. But if we stick to the simple quantum physics of it, then I can talk at that level. But one of the things that was evident to me was that Annie and Lisa were communicating at a totally nonverbal level. They were reacting to each other at an energetic level, and they weren't supplying the words to go with it, which was quite interesting.
I think that's an amazing observation, Tony. You're right about that. And that's one of the reasons why, again, that being love container it's a woo-woo, you know, kind of expression, and I get that. And I really get that that's my wheelhouse. You know, that's the thing that, you know, with having a background of being corporate, MBA, executive, giving everything away and going to India and then studying healing modality, like these are really opposite worlds from each other. And when I started asking the question, why, you know, what is this all about? I realized that I have a bridge. I am the bridge that is between the gap of those two worlds, that there is something that I may offer that others may not see so easily or readily. That being love container is it.
Yeah.
So actually,
so let's just go back to your, can I make an observation, just go back to Annie's point about that very, very quickly, because the attachment thing, you know, I hear a lot of these debates about the attachment to the client's outcome. And I don't care whether it's an individual client paying the coach or whether it's the corporate paying one of us to go and help somebody. You have to deliver the result. The key, I feel, is that in that particular coaching conversation, you have to let go of all attachment to the client solving the problem that they brought to the conversation. It's the letting go of the attachment is the emotional thing. And you were talking about India. There's an Indian cartoonist whose name escapes me. He does awesome stuff, mostly humor around Buddhism. And I actually got permission from him a couple of years ago to use one of his cartoons in a blog post. And it just summed up coaching mastery for me from one aspect. There was a novice monk sitting at the feet of the master at the top of the hill by the temple. And he said, Master, I have a question. Is it okay for a monk to use email? And you know what the reply was?
Tell us.
Yes, my son, as long as there is no attachments.
And on that note,
that's great.
Let's just see, are there any other pressing questions?
I think we have just a few short minutes left. So let's begin to wrap today, okay? Sadly.
It went so fast.
Rich conversation. Yes. So any outstanding questions?
Did anybody want to come on quickly I mean, we have 3 minutes. We can maybe quickly address. Anybody? Is there anyone who's burning to interact?
And thank you, Susie, for pointing out that the screen was stuck. We didn't want to interrupt Annie through the conversation. We won't do that tomorrow. So
what was it stuck on?
Well, it was on who was speaking, and they wanted to watch you, who you were being during the conversation while you were holding that space for her. So we've learned something, and we'll put in that course correction tomorrow. Thanks. Thanks for the feedback. Course correction. Okay. So we're going to begin to wrap up now. And as I said earlier, and as you know, Tony will be our presenter tomorrow. Tony, would you like to speak just briefly to your topic?
Well, yeah, first of all, I'll make sure I've got 3 backup computers or similar devices available, because clearly that's going to be a thing for me. So I'm talking tomorrow about listening, which has been referenced a lot today by Annie. People have raised some interesting questions, which I've responded and said, ask that one again tomorrow. The broad listening, the active listening, a lot of words to play with. The interesting bit is Annie's reference spending time, much time, getting into meditation. And for me, and what I'll be talking about tomorrow, is that you need to get to the what I call the empty-minded state that you get when you meditate deeply. That's where you have to learn to listen from. The fun bit, when I realized that some years ago, we used to talk to our clients, say, okay, so you need to learn how to do meditation, and then you can work with your staff a lot better. Great, they said. How long does that take? Well, about 10 years. Unfortunately, corporates are in a little bit more of a rush than that. So what I'm going to do tomorrow is talk about the listening and the things around it. But one of the key little bits in it, I'm not going to do a coaching demo. I'm going to do a little live segment for everybody where I physically take you to the empty-minded state that you achieve when you meditate.
Cool.
In about 30 seconds.
Love it. Can't wait.
So we're going to give you an experience of a brain state, which you can then go back to whenever you want. Those of you who do meditate will completely understand and feel what you normally feel. But that's essentially where we're going to go. We're going to do something. We're going to talk about why this is a cool thing to do and why it's a good thing to do, and how it helps you coaching. But the key bit is going to be that 5 minutes where we take you there, I think. Yeah.
Well, and that, you know, on even further reflection, that ability to quiet the mind so that we can be present with another is probably the precursor to listening. Yeah. That's cool.
Super. Super. All right.
So stop the recording at this point, and then we can give the last password. Are we?
Well, yes, and we want to thank Lisa yet again. Thank you very much for your vulnerability and your courage and your contribution to the coaching profession, Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right. Any other closing remarks? Going, gone. All right.
I can't wait for tomorrow, that's for sure.
Okay, so everyone, you will receive your link again an hour before we start, so no panics. You should be linked to the gills with with your calendar links, and the one you'll get tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So we'll see you this time tomorrow. Okay, and for those of you listening to the recording, the links will be made available to you for all the recordings on April 28th. And then you'll be able to access those to write your little reports to claim your CCEUs. For those of you attending the whole series live, we'll be looking for the passwords from you. Okay, so you have the first password. We're going to turn off the recording now.
Just one additional comment on the passwords, and that if you're listening to the recordings and you're submitting a report, we have a new way of doing that this year. There's going to be a link. Rather than write it up in a Word doc, we're actually going to have a way for you to submit that online, and it's really makes life so much easier. Thank you. Thank you, Monique, our magic VA backroom. Okay.
Progress. Okay.
Recording. Hang on just a sec. So goodbye, everyone, for now, until tomorrow.